This is probably an important phase in Illustrator because some people just open a new document like with the defaults and just open it up, and if you're going into print, you're gonna face a lot of problems where sometimes you're missing the bleed margin. And if you don't know what the bleed is where you got that extra color, just like this intro window you're looking here. The extra color is always extending to the edge of the document. If you're going into print and you go to cut that, or you have any finishing involved in it, you can lose some of your document that you might not want to lose, or might end up with an extra edge of white and won't have what they call a true bleed. For video, if you're going into video and you're creating something in Illustrator and you don't start your document correctly, you can end up with the text out of the actual viewing area and a lot of different things. So this one will actually address those issues, so you can show you the right way to open a new document. So let's jump right into that. I'm gonna go up here to File. There's a lot of different methods to open one, but go to File, New, and you can name your document. This is actually the new document window here, and you can see here I got an untitled. We can name this one. I'm gonna just name it New Document. Of course, you can name it anything you want. These are actual profiles right here that builds in like a lot of presets for you. So if you're doing something for print, it will actually set the standard sizes. Of course, you can change the units of measurements. In print, I like to keep it inches because of course a lot of print is based in inches. But you can see here that if you actually change the profile, it tries to change it into points, and when you change it back to inches, it goes custom. The reason for that is it normally automatically think that you're gonna actually change or mess with these here, but a lot of the points is pretty much good for if you're doing web or mobile devices, because those are normally in pixels. But I always thought that print, would be a better idea to change it into inches, but of course you can mess with that. The new illustrators, if you're not working with the newer illustrators, like I believe this started in CS4, I believe, you can actually open up multiple artboards. I thought this was pretty good. Now, if you're working on a double-sided flyer, let's say, you can pretty much open up both screens as opposed to saving it as two front and back or something like that. Of course, you have your letter size. This is where you change your size. Let's say if you're doing a 5.5 by, let's say, 8.5 flyer. You set the width and the height. This is the orientations. It changes it. If you're doing a portrait, this one here, that's straight up and down, meaning that your width is going to be the 5x5 and the height is going to be 8.5. This is the horizontal length, landscape. That would mean that the width is going to be 8.5 and the height is going to be 8.5. These in the newer Illustrator starting at, I believe, CS4 that was, they give you these bleed margins here. This actually gives you the little red line. And me, what I typically like to do, if it's gonna be a bleed in your document, let's say even if it was this, you want your finish size to be 5x5 by 8.5, you add a quarter to it. So it's gonna be 5 by 75 by 8.75, and hit OK. So it opens it up, and I usually go into my view and turn my rulers on, show the rulers. You can also get to that by hitting Command R on Mac, Control R on Windows, and pretty much stretching out rulers to the quarter of the actual document to set the bleed. And this is kind of an old school method, old school way of doing it, but I still find it pretty reliable. The other one kind of sets the bleed margin outside of it. You can pretty much extend your document outside to fix it. I'll show you that one in a second. But this actually, and you pretty much work inside this area. If you're really strict, and you pretty much want to set your text safe area as well. So this also is where you will keep your text, so your text won't go outside this line on the inside. So basically, just to give you an example, you wanted to create the bleed. Say you make a box, let me fill it with some color. You got the color extending all the way to the edge, and you just pretty much, you want your text to be on the inside. And pretty much anywhere on the inside, that wherever you're trying to design to, but you just don't want to go outside this first line. So you don't want it like this, because when you go to cut, remember it's going to cut to that top line right up here where I'm clicking, and your text might be really too close to the line. So I'm gonna close this one down, don't save that, and I'm gonna open a new one, and I'm gonna show you this with the bleed when you actually use the automatics. Now this right here is a little chain link. You can turn that off, and what that does is it doesn't let all of them link together with the same size. You could actually customize each individual one. I like to leave the chain on because, I mean, it's a rare case where you'll have bleed, a different width bleed from the top and bottom. But it is cases where, like if you're doing a fold over card, where you want the top bleed to be different from the sides. But here we go. You see you have the bleed margin now outside that line. And it actually pretty much shows you a representation of where you want to pull the colors. Now, what they normally do that for is you basically drag that here, and let me just turn that different color so you can see it's a bleed, and that bleed area is represented outside the margin itself. And I'm actually going to also show you to start a new document with different artboards. So we're going to go new, and let's say we got a front and back. We're going to do a template. These are just the spacing between the two documents. And this right here is a representation of the grid by row. It actually shows you the pages, how they work from the order of them. So we're just going to use two. Hit OK. So now you see you got two side-by-side views, which you can work on pretty much both of them at the same time. So if you have a front and back document, you can work on both of them at the same time. So that's another example. You have also, if you want to start a new document, you have new from template. This is if you have any templates inside, like save templates, like let's say for instance envelopes, or you have custom save size. Like I'll show you, I got blank templates here. Illustrator actually come pre-packed with some templates. You see you got business cards, you got brochures. Let's see the brochure one. And these are actually standard in Illustrator. So you see the brochure actually opens with the front and back already set up for you. And these are not anything I created. These are actually in Illustrator. But you can create custom, save it right in there, and open it right up. And that pretty much concludes the first section of starting a new document. You got other ways, you can get back into open the document. Of course, you could double click on the actual icon itself to get into it. Or let's say if you start in Illustrator from a Photoshop file, let me close that out. You got different ways. I'm giving you some examples of how you can open some documents or start one. Different ways of opening it. You could just open Illustrator and drag the JPEG in there, but different options of starting one. But that one we're actually covering importing and exporting.